Okay, we're going to take a quick look at 4 recent paintings of mine, modern art paintings that are influenced by remote viewing. For people that don't know what remote viewing is, basically science developed a technique so that human beings can use extrasensory perception to answer questions. So in simple terms, you could say psychic powers. But the important thing is it's remote viewing when the extrasensory perception is used correctly, when there's a correct answer. And the remote viewer is blind to the question. Like, for example, there's a question inside that envelope, and I don't get to see the question until I finished the session or producing the information. And here's a session that I'm actually doing these days. You can do a whole bunch of sessions for one question until the information's complete. So the first two are from my Shroud series, and they were inspired by a collection of ancient Mexican codexes I saw at the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City that included large histories painted on fabrics centuries ago. And the fabrics were really, really big, like some could cover entire floors. And also inspired by the Shroud of Turin, the famous one where it's got an image similar to Jesus Christ on it. So I did a series of paintings. Well, it might be Jesus Christ, I don't know, whatever. So I did a series of paintings on fabric without the typical normal frame that most people use it nowadays. You can roll them up, which makes them great to transport. And you can also put them on frames. So if a person was serious and they wanted to get one of these from me and they needed it on a frame, well, we could put it on a frame. But okay, so these two that are on the fabric alone, these are the first two in the Shrouds series. Ingo Swann is considered the father of remote viewing, and he was usually pretty quick to point out that there was at least 500 people that were also involved in the development of it, including many scientists. Later, him and Dr. Hal Puthoff were responsible for developing controlled remote viewing, which, in my opinion, is a really great teaching technique and system so that people can successfully do remote viewing. Using extrasensory perception or remote perception or remote sensing so that we can perceive things without limits of time or space. And in the remote viewing sessions, drawing and sketching is an integral part of it. Sketching is the better word because usually they're very quick and they have a primitive style to them. Betty Edwards is important and interesting in the controlled remote viewing because she wrote very, very clearly about the left and right hemisphere of consciousness and creativity, and even analog drawing, which people that are familiar with Ingo Swann's ideograms will find very, very interesting. The Shrouds word comes from the Shroud of Turin, and I had seen a bunch of codices. I don't know what the correct word is, but codexes maybe they're called, but they're ancient Mexican documents, paintings that were left on fabrics that are centuries old, and they're really, really cool. Of course, the Shroud of Turin is also very, very old. Oh, and this is the actual painting inside the tube. So now I'm going to take it out, and then we'll look at it suspended with a little explanation. And the title is 00 Cosmos Earth Cuapinol Earth 00. Cuapinol is the neighborhood. That's like the slang term for Cuapinolito in Santa Maria, Huatulco, Mexico, Oaxaca. That's where this painting was painted. And cosmos, of course, refers to the cosmos, like the stars and the galaxy and all that, the universe. So in the little green letters there, we see it says soul power, a message from the spirit world that is alive in this real life, and the communication travel between the two. It's also number 1 in the Shroud series. How a person displays it is their own decision. We made up this art where you can see under glass is an idea that I like a lot, suspended from the wall or in a table or whatever. But okay, now let's take a look at it and explain it. And just to give you an idea of the the size of it. There's a standard size acoustic guitar, classical guitar model. There's the painting from a distance. The problem with this painting is it's impossible to get the coolness or the quality of the colors the way it really is in real life, which is strange, but it looks way better in real life. It's a really, really powerful painting. Okay, so this painting is interesting because it was made and it was painted in 4 directions. In other words, it's not necessarily this is the right side up. This is the right side up, or this is the right side up, or this is the right side up, or this is the right side up. And then just to make things easy for today, we'll show it this way and I'll try and explain it, pick it apart. So this was silk screening done on, of course, a big canvas, which was then hand painted on. So it's a mixture of silk screening and hand painting. And the theme of it, the general theme of it, is that where it was painted in Cuapinolito connects, as does everything else, but it connects to the universe, to space, yeah. And that through time, the living people and things are all a part of that universe, all a part of that connection and that reality. And that human beings have the possibility to tune in, feel, experience different levels of the universe and the cosmos and different times in history, like different human experiences as time travels, with this point as a reference point, Cuapinolito to the universe. So I really like the painting for a million reasons, but one of them is that when I painted it, I put in a lot of stuff that I had no idea in the future that it would have a lot of meaning. For example, Huatulco, which is the town where Cuapinolito is in. Back when I painted this painting, I didn't know what Huatulco meant. There was these crazy stories about it's the place where the tree was sighted or some Christian mythology thing. But in fact, Huatulco is taken from Cuatulco, which is place of the snakes. And the religion that when the first Europeans got there was, they called their practice, the people worshipped Cuautepetl, which is hill of the snake. And that's really cool because where this was painted, in fact, the boa constrictor snake was rolling around recently, but Huatulco means like place of the snakes. And there's lots of snakes in this painting, and I didn't know that when I painted it. The language when the first Europeans got there, so one period in the history of Huatulco was Nahuatl, and this was the time of the Aztec Empire. So let's get a little bit closer with those references to the painting. This here is the glyph or the image, the historical glyph or image for Cuitlahuac, who is the Aztec emperor during the victory night when the Aztecs fought back and killed 75% of the Spanish as the Spanish were trying to escape from Mexico City. So he's painted there in that position. Then you can see in this position, and then in this position, and you can also see the feet down there. So basically it's kind of like in 4 positions. But the interesting thing about this painting, besides the fact that it's got all kinds of stuff in it, like it's really, 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 really got a lot of layers to it and many, many things going on all at once. Like it's basically jam-packed and it's occurring on many levels at the same time. So let's go into it. It's got Cuitlahuac, but look, who's this guy? If you look a little bit closer, that's Robert Monroe. Robert Monroe teaches or taught astral travel in the Monroe Institute. There's another kind of like a ghostly image of Robert Monroe. And then if we go up here in this corner, this is a reference point. Go up to this reference point. That's Ingo Swann's face. Ingo Swann's the father of remote viewing. which basically is a technique that anyone can learn, and then they can basically, using their psychic abilities, tap in and tune to any time and any time and place and space. Like it's kind of it's quite interesting. So it's you could call it the mystical side of the human experience in the universe. And this here, of course, is Xochipilli. Xochipilli is, in real simple terms, you could call it the energy or the god of the arts and science. And of course, we've got the calendar, which is very, very integral and important in the Nahuatl Aztec culture of those times. Huatulco is an aquatic place, so we've got all kinds of aquatic symbols in there. And the colors of this painting are really beautiful. There's a lot of reflective paint in there, and there's a lot of really cool blue colors and all of this. There's a lot of, I don't know what it's called, but a lot of symbolic images that occur in the thing. And of course, prevalent in it, besides the snakes, which are all over the place. Snakes and kind of like wave patterns, you know? Besides that, and the obvious like Aztec signs, that's the sign for Nezahualcóyotl, which is extremely important in terms of art and culture, justice, truth in that culture. So there's also the reoccurring idea of the cosmos and the earth, like at different levels. Like there's planet Earth, of course, with the words Huatulco. There it is again. Now with the, the swordfish there. And when you go back and you see kind of like the planet with the different circles in it, and it gives you more of an aspect, the feeling of the galaxy, the feeling of the universe, of things at different levels. There's the Ingo Swann image again, and it's upside down. So here you can see it in a little bit, again, a little more ghostly figure. And there's also a lot of, besides repeating waves, there's also arrows, like repeating sets of arrows, which of course has to do with my name and the culture then and now. I just want to try to look for more, because I can actually look at this painting many times and see different things each time. It's like I'm trying to figure out where the arrows are. But anyways, there's some arrowheads. If you've ever collected arrowheads, like I have one from Teotihuacan, from pre-Hispanic ones, they've got these really, really nice, sharp, well-defined angles to them and curves. What else? There's something else in here that I was thinking about. Just want to look at this for a little while. Again, this is a painting where you can literally just sit there for half an hour and keep looking at it and looking at it, looking at it, and seeing all kinds of different aspects to it. The image for the Aztec calendar is really nice. It's really nice and detailed. It's almost like a relief of 3 dimensions. And this painting was painted with a lot of reflective paints. So according to the light, the way it's shown in, as the light reflects off of it, it's got a different effect. Let's see if I can see one more thing I wanted to mention before I finish the video. I like kind of like the mask figures. I showed this to an African friend. I took it out and showed her the painting. It's really a painting you have to see live. It's like, doesn't mean much on video compared to what it looks like live. But anyways, my African friend went nuts. She really, really loved the painting. Oh, that's funny. There's a little seagull in there. And but it's got a real tribal sense to it. And it even has got a little bit of an African look to it. Some parts of it certainly do. Okay, I guess that's enough to give you the feeling. I wonder if I ever will sell this painting or not. But if I don't, It's going to be a nice one to keep around for the years. And whoever, if someone does buy it, great. Fucking amazing. And, you know, oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to mention. There's the, those symbols, those dots refer to the Robert Monroe's progressive color phases as you go through the different levels of consciousness. And in the house where this was painted, I've used that system to apparently communicate with some sort of pre-Hispanic entity in a really cool and positive way. So I guess, oh look, we got the little Olin symbol right there. Oh, there's more. Let's go this way. That way and then this way. Yeah, today in fact is Olin in the tradition of the Atl. So I think it's 9 Olin today. Okay, very cool, very cool. Again, this painting, you can hang it any way you want it. But if it was me, or if I was going to display it permanently in a house or someplace like that, a gallery, I would put it under glass and I would keep it flat, or at least rotate it. Maybe put it on a spinning, rotating thing, so you can get the effect at you know, the different angles. And it looks a lot darker and a lot brighter and a lot stronger in real life. Video doesn't seem to let you get the feel for the colors. Okay, very cool. Ingo and the others discovered how the human consciousness functions during correct remote viewing, and the subconscious and the division between the two, and bringing the correct information onto paper. So in these sessions, I don't even know what the answer is. I don't know what I'm trying to perceive yet. This is called a blind process. But once we see what I was asked to perceive in the future, if this information is correct, it's remote viewing. If not, it was a person trying to do remote viewing. Okay, this is a little explanation of my painting. It's called Received, Earth Message to the Extraterrestrials. And as the green says down there, how they see our image. In other words, they see through the bullshit of it and understand that we're not a noble race in scientific wisdom. So the good news about this painting is that it was painted in 2019, and all my paintings, I get to see them years after, and it's like, this one's getting better. In other words, it looks cooler than it did back then, and everybody that sees it likes it a lot. They think it's pretty amazing. I'm happy to have it, and it's like, okay, I have to sell the stupid thing because I'm going to use the money for something else, but it's a cool painting, man. If I could press a button and just have a copy for myself, I would. So here, you can see, I'll put it on the video, but this is the image that was put on the satellite that was sent into space at a certain amount of time in the past to try and explain to extraterrestrials how humanity is. Okay, another cool thing about this, when I did the promo video for it, we can see I've got underwater shots that I took in the ocean near where the painting was done in Huatulco. I didn't know there was UFOs that go underwater. And also I didn't know that this image was put on the satellite that went to Jupiter, and Ingo Swann, of course the father of remote viewing, went to Jupiter before the satellite. And he did a session where he demonstrated that he could perceive things on the planet Jupiter using remote viewing before the satellites even got there, which is pretty cool. For example, he perceived the rings in Jupiter that are not seen by the naked eye, but that when the satellite got there, it confirmed again many of the details he had in his session were correct, proving that remote viewing isn't limited by time and space. So this is the tube that the painting is transported in, that it fits in. I brought it to Canada from Mexico in this tube. And again, because of the way I painted it, the types of paints and whatever it's on it, it does just fine. It's in really nice shape. Maybe one day it will be put on a wooden frame, but if it was me, I would put it behind glass, just like this image we made back in 2019. I think it would look cooler in glass, suspended. But one thing's for sure, it sure makes a room cool. It's like, man, you can show up anywhere, and basically you can see I've only got it hung on a few little clothes hangers or whatever, and it's like, man, it brings a really, really strong vibe, a positive one, into a room. Hey, how you doing? And so I'll try and explain it to you in basic terms. And the concept is really, really simple. It's a concept painting that extraterrestrials who have powers of telepathy and obviously extrasensory perception have no problem whatsoever understanding how humanity is. So how humanity is and how humanity has been. So the myth that, we're these peace-loving creatures and etc., etc. And so let's get into the details of this painting. First of all, it's pretty big, so let me pause this and put a guitar in there for scale so you can see how big the painting is. Okay, that's a standard size electric guitar, like the same size as a Fender Stratocaster or whatever. You can see it's the Eddie Van Halen design. Then, so anyways, to the painting. So the central figure in this is what appears to be a lady, and it's Sasha Grey from her first video she did with, I think his name is Rocco Siegfried or whatever. But anyways, they brought in a new style of pornography, and it was kind of violent and crazy. And this painting, like all my paintings, is really nice because you can look at it for a long time. It's got many different layers and many different subtleties. The first thing, well, one thing that I think is really important is if you look at the background of the painting, right there, that image there, well, in fact, that image right there is a constellation. And it's part of a circular map that was made around 350 AD, or maybe 500 AD, but it was between the Teotihuacan Empire in Mexico and the Tenochtitlan, empire, capital of the empire, and is what it's symbolizes, or that circle basically is 290 stars in the northern sky, like at nighttime, constellations. And it's really cool how the old Mexicans were so cosmic, and they knew so much about spatial movement, where of course it's not quite as common in the normal people of our times. So I don't think extraterrestrials have any problem whatsoever understanding how humans really are. This image here, which is almost like a guy floating around in space on a horse, is a copy of an actual painting made by a person that actually was at Little Bighorn with Crazy Horse, Tashunka. So he's representing Crazy Horse on his horse there, which of course historically is very, very important and gives you an idea really of what human politics and human history is, especially related to NASA and their noble idea of sending out a satellite to the extraterrestrials to explain how things are. That is a copy that was taken off of a pre-Hispanic drum, which represents the Jaguar Warrior Society of the Aztecs, the Mexica. And over here, we see, where is it? Oh, there we go. This is the eagle warrior society of the Aztecs. And of course, you can see in the outline, in the background of the painting, Quetzalcoatl was so important in not just the Aztecs, through Mexican history for thousands and thousands of years. Now, this little line is funny, this bouncing line, with the baby in the bubble. That's comic book humor, really. And if you look at this for a while, it becomes obvious that the figure of the lady is pointed towards the outline figure of a man, which is similar to the way they sell pharmaceuticals in our times, or people try and represent the spirit of something or whatever. Okay, and on philosophical terms right here, it's the idea of health, which is that happy face in the middle. Sorry, happy face is to the top left, but it's also a Tao symbol, the I Ching, the yin and the yang, with the medical symbol in the back, and then the Kool-Aid happy face, which has really dark overtones, but it's also got nice positive tones too, depending on how Kool-Aid has been used the last 50 years. So there's a dollar sign there, and a heart sign, and a balance sign. And the idea is health, wealth, and love in balance. Then, as far as symbolic things, this is pretty symbolic. And is what this is, if you look carefully, it's the idea of the map of the solar system. But of course, it's got the all-seeing eye of surveillance in the middle. And it's also got the planets represented as like balls on a pool table. That's actually looks a lot nicer when you get closer. Let's see how close I can get with my camera. I should have done this in the other videos so that people can see the detail in these paintings. So anyways, okay, what else are we looking at here? This was painted in 2019, which is cool because that was before we had all the official Pentagon confirmation of extraterrestrials and their vehicles and whatnot. There's the second painting of Crazy Horse Tlachialistli. And so 2019 it was painted. What do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, those butterflies in the back, those were actually flying in the backyard where this was painted, and they're like a part of the reality of that place. So this is a very simple, very, very quick explanation of the painting, but if you get a chance to actually sit in front of the painting for 5 or 10 minutes, all kinds of really cool stuff comes out. I think that's good enough. It's a general description, right? Well, I'm going to say it anyways. There's a lot of weird things in this, but it's cool. Back in 2019, we didn't know that AI would be producing all these strange images you see on the internet. And it's normal in AI in the year 2025 or 2024 that they make mistakes. Like, in other words, hands will have 2 fingers or 3 fingers or whatever like this. And that's not Sasha Gray's actual hairstyle in the video. I added that on later, and it's just like a cheap plastic Las Vegas wig or something like that. But again, the more you look at this painting, the more details start to come out, and it's a cool painting. It gives off really, really good energy. And the theme of it, the basic theme is the truth is the truth, and the rest of existence, the universe knows the truth, experiences the truth. So you can paint all the versions you want, but everybody else is going to feel it the way they actually do feel it. And that's the way I'm pretty darn sure extraterrestrials live. This was a fun painting to paint. It's really, really cool. And when I see it, I kind of think, shit, man, I should go back to Mexico and keep painting this style of painting, because again, it was really Betty Edwards is 98 years old now, so shout out to Betty. And remote viewing, and especially controlled remote viewing, is kinesthetic, which means it's something you feel. You're expressing what your body feels and let your body produce the information on the paper. It's not really that much of an intellectual process, and it's even not that much of a visual process. Sure, some sort of thinking goes on, and sure, images are welcome to appear in the consciousness, but sometimes you're even drawing on the paper without knowing what you're doing. Your body is just putting the words there, or the images, because the right hemisphere has the correct information and passes it almost in a primal state to the paper, avoiding the educated mind, which might interfere in the process. I did 11 paintings in the Shrouds series, and 3 of my paintings have pretty long titles. So I'll call them Cosmos, Received, and then the next 2 are painted on framed canvases. They're both triptychs, which means it's paintings that fit together as one piece of art. And these are big ones. I like them. I like all my paintings big. So the triptychs have 6 paintings that can be shipped individually or stacked together, but the idea is when you get them, wherever you're going to show them, they all stack up together in one big image. And they're camo, and the last one, white room. Okay, so a little bit about me. My father has been an artist all his life and is now a retired public school art teacher. So in one way or another, I've been making art all my life, including music, video, photography, posters, remote viewing, silk screening, and modern art paintings. You know, drawings and sketches included. Graffiti too. Okay, here's an artist's description of the painting Camo. It's a polyiptych and acrylic on canvas, 6 foot by 6 foot. There's a lot of like, I think I did a promotional video for it once or something. I think I did one too for the other painting, White Room. But anyways, there's a lot of information on the internet about it and blah, blah, blah. Let's take a look at the real painting, kind of explain it, you know. Okay, this gives you an idea of the scale, the bigness of the greatness, the size of this painting. As you can see, I've got like one of my electric guitars there. That's a standard Strat size. And I turned the lights out, so there's no glare on the painting from the reflection of these things. And so it looks really nice. And with proper lighting, it's normal that there's not reflection. It's just like a video thing here. Also, if you're paying attention in the videos, you notice I got these pieces of paper on the wall. So what these are from some of my favorite remote viewing sessions. This room's it's all mirrors. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but so I just put like cool remote viewing sessions all over the place. Yes. This is a cool painting because so much of the painting is life-size. That's the silhouette. The lady in the middle is the silhouette of Brigitte Bardot. And we'll see why it's her in a minute. If you look behind her, kind of like at these lines, it goes down here and then the line on the other side there, that's a tree. And it's a painting from a real tree that's about 20 meters from where the painting was actually painted. It's a Douglas fir. It's a huge, beautiful, big tree. So much light reflection in the video. But anyways, this painting was inspired by a video report done by a guy called Russell Pickering in the remote viewing community, and he was talking about another high-profile remote viewer, Pat Price, who published the sites of underground alien bases on the planet Earth. And some people are actually afraid of aliens and the potential, some sort of negative potential of aliens on the planet Earth or whatever. So this is a response. This painting is a response to that fear. And I guess I'll talk about the details, and then I'll talk about why they're there, what they mean. So if we look on the face of the lady, well, this painting, first of all, if it was up to me, it should stay on Vancouver Island. But if it goes somewhere else, that's going to be decided by whoever buys and sells it. But why Vancouver Island? Because these flowers, that camas flower, I've actually eaten those flowers. And those type of flowers, and this flower, and that flower, I've eaten those flowers. And the bulrushes, which are really common in Western Canada. What else is in there? Oh yeah, this back fern thing. Those are also really, really common in Western Canada. Those are all edible plants. They're all things that here on the island you can eat to survive, and were eaten and collected and used by the original peoples of this continent long before the white people got here. So you notice that the flowers are strategically placed in erotic zones. So the idea is basically the love of creation, that nature will give you food, nature will help life continue and procreate, and etc., etc. Now, around the circle of life, if you want to call it, the green circle, which is the inverse color of the tree, we've got these animals, and there's 6 groups. One, the wolf, from an actual wolf here on the island. Otters, which again also live out here on the island. Dragonflies, which of course there's lots of dragonflies on the island. Hummingbirds, which we have that specific species here. We also have golden eagles. They're very big. If you notice, the entire eagle isn't painted into the painting. It's kind of swooping into it. And then ravens, which also are here on the island. There's lots of them. And these are all traditional animals that native people of this continent believe that humans, in using consciousness practices, can convert into those animals. It's called shape-shifting in English. In Mexico, it's called nahualismo. So there's these animals that are traditional, for spiritual people that practice these sort of things in the traditional cultures. There's the animals that they can convert into. And if you notice on the sides of the painting, we have these figures. That's a head with the neck. Here's an arm with the hand. And you can see a little bit of the breasts and the waist that goes down. And then another head starts with another shoulder, with another arm, with another hand, and another waist, and then another head. And on the left side of the painting, it's the same thing. The head with some of the breasts, the arm, the hand, the waist, another head starting, another body starting with the hands and waist, and then it goes down there. And if you notice the paint, or the way it is, again, this is kind of like that reflective, some of that reflective paint's in there. So according to where you see the painting in the room, or how the lighting is, it takes on a cool effect. The geometric, symmetrical patterns on these figures are all from real crop circles that appeared in Wiltshire County in the UK the season previous to the painting of this, when this was done. In other words, these are the most recent crop circle designs that appeared in Wiltshire Circle. Why? Because again, the painting is a response to the people that believe that there's an imminent problem with extraterrestrials and we should fear some sort of invasion of them or whatever. And the message is very, very clear. Mother Nature gives us everything we need to survive. We're a part of creation, and we can do things that will protect us from any sort of extraterrestrial problem, and also keep us alive and full of love and happiness. So because part of it too is there's the prophecy in the original peoples of the rainbow children. So I put a nice little rainbow there. There's a bit of metallic paint on there, and which is cool because it's at the foot, at the base of the Bridget Bardot image, and of course she in this painting representing Mother Earth, she believes she I think took the title of the Rainbow Children or something for her adopted family. So it's basically about survival, love, creation, consciousness, and the traditional original people's practices. And I guess that's it. So camo comes from the word camouflage. So the original title for this was Orgasmic Altar Fire Flower, Tonatu Solar Flare Venus Night, and then eventually I settled on camo. And when I was making the publicity for it, I thought it was funny. I remembered that sometimes Mexicans in the United States are referred to as illegal aliens. And as a Mexican citizen, because I'm Mexican and Canadian, I got 2 passports and our remote viewing school is in Mexico, I just thought it was funny because, or crazy or whatever, because most Mexicans, if they wanted to, they can claim their status as original peoples, you know what I mean? Like, you know, as native as anyone else on the continent, most Mexicans. It's kind of a cultural deal.
The noise that we heard in the air. It was like someone was playing a flute. I saw little objects hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there were little ones all around it. They were going like that. It was scary. The eyes looked evil.
Evil?
It looked evil because it was just staring at me, as if it wanted to come and take us. Just walked away and I started crying.
Started teaching remote viewing in 2012, and then finally in 2022 I started a school with my best student. And again, this is science. This is something you can take statistics on, and it's a really, really well developed teaching technique or process to learn how to use the innate abilities that all of us have of extrasensory perception. For me, it's very surprising that the large majority of the population has no idea that this exists, that it's real, and that they can take advantage of it. I was taught to do map dowsing. And map dowsing is where you can find things using a system of maps and intuition, extrasensory perception. These days you hear a lot of people promoting or talking about artificial intelligence as if it's some sort of higher form of consciousness or whatever. But really, in many cases, it's fantasy or imagination being expressed, which in itself, okay, that's okay. But remote viewing is more organic intelligence or universal intelligence, which means it's something produced by a living being in the rhythm and the process of life as it occurs on the planet and in the universe, not just planet Earth. So it's, of course, also universal intelligence because it's not limited by time or space. It's got an element of, I guess you could say, logical unpredictability, and where the truth can be expressed. And whereas artificial intelligence is limited by machines and databases and a certain amount of information, right? So humans have always drawn or done paintings in relation to consciousness experience, like dreams or prophetic events or prophecies. An example of this is in the old culture on this continent, on the teepees, the house, it was in some people's experience, the tradition to draw a prophetic dream, paint a prophetic dream on the side of their house, well, what we could call the teepee, their home. And of course, even in surrealism and European modern art, consciousness and And the idea of prophecy and all that was definitely a solid part of it. There's an interior visual language that Betty Edward talks about, that's part of the human species and probably most other species, where we don't necessarily even need words. We can communicate through images, and you know, in the expression of remote viewing, that's pretty important. Okay, here's some comments by the artist about this painting, which is titled White Room. You'll see why it's called White Room when you see the painting. Of course, it's a polyiptych acrylic on canvas, 6 foot by 6 foot, 6 pieces, and the full title is White Room, Happily Beyond the Threshold, the Transmutation of Psychic Sexuality into Universal Wisdom. So it's really hard to take pictures of my paintings. There's like the internet one, and I don't like it. It's like each photo is like really, really different, and I had to take pictures of it like piece by piece. Okay, so here's the actual painting. Bing bong. And that guitar down there is a full-scale guitar, full size, so it gives you an example of the size of the painting. Let's see if we can get it all in. Okay, there we go. Okay, so again, it's called White Room, and if you look at the middle of the painting, precisely, it's a white room. Those windows I always thought were really kind of interesting. To me, I don't know, but they just think they remind me of money, which is really weird. I don't know what the association is. So I'll explain the painting to you. It's on a variety of levels. First of all, you'll see the green circle that's kind of like in the center of it. And you can only see, let's see, you can only see at the very top that black figure, which is the arm, and then a little bit of the circle right there. And then down here, you see a little bit of waste paper basket, and you see the 2 feet. That's the symbol for put garbage in the garbage receptacle. Like in Canada, it's really common to see that symbol when you walk around downtown on the garbage bins or whatever. So there's an idea of purification in this, and keeping nature in its pristine state, its organic, beautiful state. And now let's get down to a little more of the details of this, what inspired it. You'll notice that there's one. There we go. You'll notice that there's these faces painted into it, and there's like I don't know how many faces there's. I think there's 36 faces, and each one, of course, is the face of a real person. These were painted from real people. And the interesting thing is that the last 3 that I painted, maybe even the last 4, but for sure the last 3 took on their own personalities. In other words, the actual model that was used for those 3 images doesn't look like those 3 images, but those are the images of 3 other real people I know. And I just thought, well, what's going on? This is really interesting, because I know how to paint. In other words, it's not hard to, paint a person. But for some reason, what came out wasn't, like, for some reason, those people were resonating strong in the painting process when it came out. So another element of this is, you notice I have these little stick figures all the way through the painting, and they're all numbered. Those lines and dots are from the old Mexican system, and they indicate progressive chronological order of a description of the remote viewing process. So basically, anyone who has the basics, who's basically familiar with what remote viewing is, they can understand what's happening from like image to image. Representing remote viewing, for people that don't know what it is, it's the scientific systematic teaching method so that people develop and take advantage of their extrasensory perception, which in real simple terms means in 1976, Western science published, discovered, announced, official science, that human beings have psychic powers of extrasensory perception. And I'm one of the leaders on this continent for teaching, studying, practicing it. Okay, so the white room in the middle goes back to that spiritual idea of the purification. And the ladies painted in there goes into the psychic connection of the way people can connect with each other, without too many limits of time or space. Let's see if I'm missing something. I think that's about it. The interesting thing about this painting is you can take it apart. In other words, it's in 6 pieces, it's 2 meters, and I like the idea that you can dive right into it. And it's definitely got energy to it. When you're in the room with the painting, it's got a really, really strong, cool energy. Probably because of the ladies that are represented in it. Who knows? Also, it's got special paints. I don't know, you can't really see it here, but according to the way it's painted, according to the way it's lit, as you walk around it, the paints will reflect. Some of the paints will reflect with the light. That's it. White room. I like this painting a lot. It's really, really cool. And I hope, well, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know. This one, I don't care where it goes on planet Earth. But it would be nice to have, for me, to make a nice copy of it at least. So I have a copy, but right now there's only the original, and that's it. Go on a trip. Connect with it. Love is a universal sense. These are my dream diaries for about 5 years. And in the diaries, I try and do illustrations too of the images I saw or experienced while I was in the dream. And of course, dreams are really, really interesting because if you do watch them for a while, if you keep diaries over a while, you get to see synchronicity, premonition or precognition. Basically psychic powers happening where you get to see the future or some other things, but just as a different state of consciousness producing images and experiences and sounds that you live through. I think they're really important. As far as remote viewing goes, in 2011 I started taking classes with Paul Elder, and then did the Monroe Institute Gateway with Paul and Penny Marshall, Robert Monroe's stepdaughter, which was great. And I started teaching remote viewing in 2012. I started teaching English in 1990. And so I've been a teacher for a while, as well as an artist. And in 2012, I started teaching remote viewing, and now I lead Latin America's #1 authentic remote viewing school. We're called ATVE, ATVE, which means take advantage of your extra edge. And it's the internet address is atve.org. So I've also been trained by Dr. Paul H. Smith. I'm learning controlled remote viewing, which is great. I've got a bit of training from Joseph McMonagle too, and taken courses with Pam Coronado, among others. So I'm really familiar with using ESP and expressing it, writing it down, drawing correctly perceived psychic information from pretty well anywhere in the universe. And I know that it's scientifically proven, and I know that anyone can do it because I've been involved in the education process for a while. It's really, really interesting that we have these abilities and most people don't know about them. So my paintings are all big and they include a lot of life-size images. They definitely look very much better and more powerful in real life with the actual colors, the layers of images, and the full subliminal effect. It would be great if people could be in front of these paintings, if there were somewhere where people could just walk by and see them. Best wishes. Hope you like the paintings. And definitely I would say that remote viewing, authentic remote viewing, has definitely helped out my artistic process. It's really, really great. I strongly suggest people learn how to draw from Betty Edwards. Hope you enjoyed it.